Thanks for joining us once again. You're still on To The Press, reaching you live from the nation's capital, and I am still Babajide. And of course, we've gotten to the part where we get to invite our guest analyst on the program this morning in person of Dr. Mefor. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
It's good to see you
Good
once
morning.
again. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, before we move forward, Nigerians would like to inform you that our phone lines are, of course, on to take your calls and your contributions in 60 seconds. Please, we have limited time this morning. Dr. Lo, how are you?
I'm good.
You don't look like the fuel issue is affecting you.
You know, you have to find creative ways of living in an environment such as this.
You know, we once had a guest on the program that said Nigerians always we love to persevere. And after talking about something for 2-3 days, everybody moves on. And it looks like that's what has been happening. Yeah,
you know, there is some sense in that.
Okay.
And resilience, perseverance is one core human virtue. It helps a great deal. You know, tenacity, enduring. But again, you know, human endurance is not without some elastic limits. It means that you push it too far.
Yeah.
It snaps. And we saw it a number of times in Nigeria, and most recently during the NSAS, you know, when the youths had it up here and they had to bounce back. We saw a resurgence of that also during the Naira recoloration or redesign policy. I don't know what to call it. But Nigerians also, you know, came bursting forth, protesting as it were. But somehow the promise of election being a panacea, that if only they can take their anger, their animals to the polls, and bring in the government of their choice, that it will be El Dorado, and once again Uhuru in Nigeria. You know, so I believe that that took the wind off the sail of that second resurgence. And we are at it again, and through the fuel subsidy removal, the abruptness, the unpreparedness of the policy implementation, not necessarily the policy itself. And of course, the twin of it, which is the Naira float or Naira flotation, you know, combining to unleash what you may call a maximum hardship and pressure on the ordinary Nigerian. You know, the shock is what they are. Nigerians are still taking in. But I believe they will get to a point where they will have nowhere else to turn except fight back. That's, as a social psychologist, that's what I know.
Nowhere to turn for Nigerians except fight back.
Yes, yeah. It's either you fight back or you go under.
Could it be said it's relative to what is happening in Nigeria right now?
Sure. You know, you see, if you look at the Nigerian experience, I listened to the mock speech, you know, made by ECOWAS leaders that they don't want coup. They don't. It's not that you don't want coup. You should be asking, why are the military coming back? What you should be looking at is currently we have 6 African countries that are under full-blown military administration. The question is why? It's not just only Niger of yesterday. How about Burkina Faso? How about Mali? How about Guinea? How about Sudan? You know, and one other I can't remember. Is it Malawi or where? You know, and who knows where next? Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
You know, so I keep saying that democracy itself is not a silver bullet. It's a form of government. The question is, democracy as practiced in Nigeria, is it working? Is it really delivering, you know, food to the table and all that? Or, better put, are we really practicing democracy?
Democracy, yes.
You know, once on this forum, this platform, this TV, I was asked to choose between democracy and military administration. I said I wouldn't know which is better, you know, I wouldn't know which to choose until I see the practice, proper and full practice of democracy.
So are you trying to say even the so-called Goodluck Jonathan regime that was supposedly practicing a full democracy, I mean, that's when Nigerians feel that was actually a democratic system of government? I mean, the rule of law was actually being obeyed in that particular...
You see, yes, you see, if we see the government of Goodluck Jonathan as the peak of democracy in Nigeria, it's more like in the country of the blind, one-eyed man being the king.
Yes, that's
because
true.
Under Jonathan, ask yourself, why was Jonathan removed from office? He was removed. There was a popular agitation that that democracy wasn't delivering. Otherwise, why change Jonathan? He didn't leave power by influence. By that I mean he was entitled to a second term, which he didn't get. Even though he vigorously fought for it. He left office, and Buhari, of all persons, was preferred to him, despite the fact that Nigerians knew the antecedents of Buhari.
So, sorry to cut you short, but I totally agree with the fact that Nigerians know the antecedents of Buhari. Or
we knew his antecedents.
Or maybe people didn't read up on it, or maybe people...
Read?
Yeah.
Maybe the Gen-Zs like you didn't read up. We saw it. I wouldn't know. Okay. But you look more like them. Say, we were here when Buhari came in 1983. Interrupting a full-blown democratic government of Alhaji Shehu Usman Ali Shagari. He led a military coup to remove a democratic government. And when he came in, he brought in decrees that ousted the freedom.
The freedom, yes.
Of both individuals, the media, and so on and so forth. Decree 4, Decree 2. These decrees, expressly provided for lack of freedom. On freedom, he made it very clear that there will be no freedom of any sort.
Yeah.
And he pursued it to the letter. Nduki Rabu and others, and Tunde, can't remember the surname now, they all went to jail under Decree 4. So there was evidence that Buhari was anti-democracy, anti-freedom, anti-people. And yet Nigerians preferred it to Jonathan. So I don't think that what you call illiberal governance, is what we really refer to as dictatorship or military administration. The opposite of being liberal democracy. I don't think it should be that simplistically defined. We need to go a bit further to put in perspective what democracy ought to be. Choice. People must have the freedom to choose who they want, to be their leader. That is the hallmark of democracy. Okay. And, the choice comes through the ballot. Do you understand that? Beginning from what we may call even arriving at an authentic voters register, which till today we don't have in Nigeria. If you look at the voters register in Nigeria, you see 10% of the people there are dead. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you have at least 6 million Nigerians registered, but they couldn't get their PVCs. Yeah. So you have problems. Then you vote. The vote, is Look at what's going on in the tribunal now. Millions of votes of polling unit results are unreadable, and yet they were uploaded by INEC to the IREV. INEC knew that this is not readable and therefore unusable, and still uploaded it. So where is the fidelity? Where is the authenticity? Where is the credibility of such election for me to say that we are practicing democracy? Look at the beautiful provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 that introduced the utilization of electronic means to validate the process, make it authentic, and make the outcome more acceptable, more in tandem with what could obtain in an organized, civilized crime. IREC, after deploying, beavers and everything, after authenticating the voters and getting them to vote using the same beavers, you halted the use of beavers by not allowing beavers to upload the same results.
Same result, yes.
Even so, if you call that democracy, it's not for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, because here we are not saying that you lack the capacity to be transparent. No, you don't lack capacity to be transparent. They talk about a coup, right? There's coup in Niger Republic. What exactly is coup? What is a coup? Or what is coup? A coup for me is hijacking of government. It mustn't be only a democratically elected government. Any government, once you terminate the choice of the people to put in place the person that should be their leader by choice, even if the person is an idiot, permit me to use that word, it's their choice. They will live with it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Once you terminate that process and divert the will of the people to something or somebody else, you have actually committed a coup. In other words, African countries that have not allowed democracy to take root in their places are actually committing coups against the people.
Yeah.
So each time you carry out an election and you thwart the will of the people through the ballot to deliver who should be their president, you have actually committed a coup against the people. Right. You get the point? Yeah, so whether it is a coup by the military or a coup by the ballot, coup is coup. The difference is just the method. One is the gun, and the other one is diversion of the ballot box. And none is legitimate. And therefore, you know, if you
taken by force.
Yes, it's by force, by whatever means. Because once you see, when we talk about force, people talk about violence, barrels of the gun. These ones appear to be so obvious. But I believe that the end is the issue. The end is diversion, thwarting the will of the people.
Of the people.
In the process of choosing who would govern them. So if once you do that through the ballot, you have actually committed a coup against the people.
Okay, all right, please let's quickly take this call before we continue. Good morning. Thank you for calling the press.
Beautiful morning to you, Babajide. Doctor, good morning. You are on to Air Sandy from Lagos.
All right,
good morning,
Sandy, good morning. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Let me appreciate you once again. And then thank you very much for the KAFTAN TV for giving us this ample opportunity to say our mind.
Hello. Hello, SMD. Okay, looks like we lost that call. All right, I think he's going to call back because it's been.
I hope you get my point.
Yes, I get your
point. My point is that coup should be defined operationally to mean termination of the process initiated by law for the people to choose who would govern them. So once you remove the person or you stop the person that the people have chosen from governing them, you have committed a coup. Whether it is through the barrel of the gun or through manipulation of the ballot. This is my definition of coup. In other words, West African heads of state complaining about coups in Africa have not told us about the coups they committed against the people by thwarting the ballot.
Of course, that's laughable. Let's quickly take this call, Dr. Law. Good morning. Thank you for calling the press.
Hello. Good morning, Mercy.
Good morning. Please, your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Kim calling from Lagos State.
All right. Please join in on the conversation in 50 seconds.
All right. And hello to our analyst, Mr. Mefor.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Let me quickly make some points here. I just want to call our attention, to the whole world itself. I believe the so-called democracy itself, if the human factor is not in there, it should have been a perfect system in the whole world. But let me quickly tell you, Africa is not the only problem. Even the United States, that is the one promoting the modern democracy, has shown us that democracy is the worst system in the world, in the sense that the campaign of their democracy is for their own interest in their country. So any country that goes against their own wish is the one that is not really practicing the real democracy. Good examples are there.
Okay.
When the United States of America is not in support in a particular country, it's assumed that that country is not practicing democracy. And we have seen their own evil as well. So let me just leave that aside.
Okay.
I just want to call the attention of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that the issue of Niger, it should be taken with utmost care. Let me use that word, because number one, Niger is within our border, and also part of what Mr. also says there, the coup didn't just come like that. And Africa, we must tell ourselves the truth, because the way we practice the democracy is so annoying, and for those citizens to be in support of the coup, it tells another thing else. So a logical, a sensitive, and a carefulness has to be applied so that we already have Boko Haram and other issues, IPOP and so on and so forth. So we shouldn't add more to our problem. But at the same time, it should be a logical way so that the ECOWAS should not be seen as a weak body. They should be diplomatic, and definitely ECOWAS must emerge strong at the end of the day. Africa must be in peace. That is the most important thing. But I want to emphasize this before I end. There is no any perfect system in the whole world. Africa are even trying in terms of democracy. And even the last election we took, despite all the problem we observed, if you want to compare that election with the previous election, is the perfect election if you want to call it that way. We have seen several elections in this country whereby printing of paper has been there. Nobody say anything. So nobody should let the court just say what they want to say at the end of the day. Let the judge understand. So I will end it here. Nigeria at the last election has been so perfectly, not perfectly, as 80% so interesting because of the divas and other things. So I will end it here. I can see that I've taken much of the time.
All right.
But there is no any perfect democracy in the whole world. United States has messed up itself as itself. Okay, thank you. I end it here.
All right. I'd like to add something to what you said, because it said there is no perfect democratic system in any world. But should we be looking at being a mediocre instead of giving perfection?
We are not practicing democracy yet. What we have is a civil rule. These are basic facts.
Basic facts, yeah.
Do you understand that? The fact that you have started a process, does not qualify you to claim that you are part of it. But what you're doing is not one. What is going on in Nigeria, that we call it one, I hinged everything I have said around the election. We carry out some charade and call it election. It is not. You don't call that election. Do you understand that? Yes, I agree with him all through recent history since 1999. It has always been charade. And there was near perfect arrangement to have a proper election using the 2022 Electoral Act. Why did INEC abort that process? That's the question. So now, since INEC decided out of its own volition to abort the process, they have to take responsibility for it. The fact that you got the pregnancy on and it is moving, and towards delivery you decided to abort the baby. You take responsibility for it. We cannot say you had such a wonderful pregnancy period. It's not, the pregnancy is not our aim. It's the baby.
End result, yes.
It's the baby we're all waiting for. And truly, the 2023 presidential election would have been the best if only INEC agreed to run through its own programs and its own guidelines. Upload the result.
In real time.
In real time. You did so with the Senate, you did so with the House of Reps, and you aborted that of the presidential election. Why? It's wasteful. And from the tribunal, the evidence from Amazon, cloud analysts and engineers, it became clear that there was no glitch. That means what happened was self-inflicted injury. Why did INEC do that? INEC did that because there has never been genuinely true election in Nigeria. INEC is there as the major rigging institutional machinery for the incumbents. Incumbent president, incumbent governors, incumbent this, incumbent that. They decide who they want to support. That is what goes on here.
Okay, all right, Dr. Lo, let's quickly take
that's what goes on here, and we must deal with it.
Okay.
If we know why INEC is not free to deliver free and fair election, we take that problem out. And have a proper election in Nigeria so that we can experience democracy.
Okay.
Otherwise, well, no democracy.
Okay, all right. Good morning. Thank you for calling the press.
Good morning.
Yes, please, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Collins from Benue State.
Okay, from Benue State. Collins, please join in on the conversation.
Yeah. You see, according to the little knowledge I happen to give from my little school I've gone to,
okay,
they say democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
That's correct.
Now, Nigeria was so anxious of what is happening in Niger. But you see the Nigerians who are jubilating after the takeover from the civil, that is from the democratic rule. If it happens that the people who are not happy, they will not come outside the mass to jubilate up and down. Look, just like one caller says, we have to be just extra careful. There are so many skeletons in the cupboard that the entire masses have been seeing, the mess that our politicians have created. Everybody is watching them. You can see politicians driving a bulletproof car of 200, 500 million. And we don't have roads. You can see it like when Buhari's son had an accident that time. I believe they say the power bike he was riding was about 300 something million also. I don't know. Just his son. We are seeing all these things. And even the master how they are bribing the military just to calm things down. God in his infinite mercy will purge their mind and they will turn back against them very soon. If they want there to be peace, let them put everything in order. There are so many people now that will not even have a meal a day now as I'm talking to you. You see some people, you think they are going very close because of the hike in fuel price. They say they are going to see somebody, you think they are going close here. They are going more than 2 kilometers, 20, because there is no money to enter bike. If you come to a road now, soon you don't see vehicle passing like before. So people park their car. So people park their machines. So even they pass. Look, let's just be sincere. Nigeria should be very careful because there are so many things they have done now which they are still doing up to date. Look at an outgoing governor is collecting pension. Why those that have served for 35 years, they are not paying them. And they are paying the governor that have served 8 years, loot money, loot everything, and they are still paying in pension. If you look to it now, nobody, all of them in power, they don't want to come down. That is why we are still having the crop of people that started right from 99. Many of them are still in this government. Then what are we saying? Is that democracy? There is nothing like democracy in Nigeria. So our politicians, let them just be extra careful. The whole masses are angry. The youths, they are not happy. And anything can happen.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Collins.
All
right, thank you, Collins.
You know, my point is what he even made better, in a better way. The facts are there. You see, when you have proper democracy, there will be proper election.
Yeah.
Once you have proper election, power will now reside with the people. Because they will decide who to put there.
Who to put there, yeah.
But that is not what is going on. Power is not with the Nigerian people. Power is with the conspiratorial elites who have captured what we may call the state. They captured the state. And they are recruiting people into their fold and recycling them. the masses, Nigerian masses, are not involved in the process. When you see them line up in a process you call election in Nigeria, it's just for the optics. The decisions of who to announce are already taken, and the INEC will work according to that list. This is where the tragedy is. That's why I said, if you want to have, if you want to really start democracy in Nigeria, find out why INEC is working for individuals and not for, the nation, and for the electorate.
Okay, speaking of...
Once we are able to identify that and remove it from the system, democracy will come to roost in Nigeria.
Okay, speaking of democracy and then the Niger coup, of course, there's been something that came up about 16 minutes ago. The new government of Niger has cut diplomatic ties with France, Nigeria, Togo, and United States. What does this mean for Nigeria as a whole?
Yeah, well, you see,
and let's not forget
I think we drew the first blood, right? Yes, our president, Tinubu, is the chairman of ECOWAS. Yeah, he is. But then he shouldn't put Nigeria, further than ECOWAS. You gave an ultimatum that is yet to elapse, and you cut off power supply to Niger. So they responded by cutting diplomatic ties with you.
So what happened to all the roads, the train stations, the vehicles we supplied and all of that?
They will be in a disuse. That is just what it will be until there is restoration of that diplomatic ties. Because officially, the borders between Nigeria and Niger are all closed, all of them.
Can they even close them? Do they even have a fence to block or gates and all of
this? Officially, they have their customs, their immigration, and all that, manning those borders. They constitute human war. You can't have access. You can't pass.
Okay.
If you force your way through, you can be killed, because you are violating another nation's sovereignty by doing that.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes. Okay.
For example, if ECOWAS reconstitutes ECOMOG or any standing army to enter Niger's soil as we speak, it becomes external aggression, and that is direct declaration of war. So I don't think that Niger was totally wrong for cutting diplomatic ties with Nigeria, and of course even with France. In the heart of all this problem is France. You have two major blocks in West Africa, what we call the Anglophones and the Anglo, and what is the other one called? We are Anglo, right? Anglo is the British. Then the French.
The Francophones.
The Francophones, that's the word I've been looking for. The Francophones. So where most of these coups have taken place, it's happening in the Francophone countries. Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, they are all a Francophone. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And what are they protesting? They are protesting very manifest neo-colonial policies of France. Do you know a specific percentage of the earnings of these countries was be domiciled in the French central bank? Do you understand that? Or compulsorily domiciled. And you don't even access the funds without their approval. Since it's domiciled in the French central bank, the French authorities, the French government decides what to do with such funds. Do you see the problem? In other words, you discover that you can't even say that colonialism has actually ended in these Francophone countries, because even though the French flag may have been lowered, the succeeding local authorities are still working on behalf of France.
All right, Dr. Law, let's quickly take this caller. Good morning. Thank you for calling the press.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please, I'd like to contribute to your morning program.
Okay, all right. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Malam Al-Bashir. I'm calling from Nasarawa.
Okay, all right, Malam. Please join in on the conversation in 60 seconds.
I just want to contribute, to what the gentleman there, Dr. Mefor, has said.
Okay.
Concerning what we talked about civilian coup.
Okay. And the military coup.
And then the issue of people who are demonstrating in Niger in support of the military junta.
All right.
And then the reality of the sanctions being imposed on the junta. In the first instance, I don't want us to confuse this issue of military coup with civilian coup. Because the issue of civilian coup is a controversial issue.
Okay.
People that often talk about civilian coup are only talking about it from a selfish point of view. For instance, during the last election, you'll find that people like the obedience who have been against the outcome of the results did not do with what happened in the southeast. Wherever Peter Obi won, they believed that the election there was free and fair. But where they didn't win, they see it as, to them, a form of a civilian coup. So what I'm just trying to say in effect is that let us try to be very cautious and let's not try to compare the issue of civilian politics with military politics. And then let us also realize, like it has often been said, the worst democratic system is better than the so-called best military system. Ask yourself, look at the history of military coups in Africa. Which military regime will you see have done something extraordinarily that is worthy of emulation? All these military coups, they have been opportunists. They always seize opportunity to demonstrate or to topple the civilian government, come and even do worse than the civilians. So there is no military regime should be supported. On the issue of those people that are supporting the military junta here, first of all, there are few. Still, government in power. Still, the government in power is a military that naturally encourage their supporters to demonstrate in their favor. And they will not allow the opposition to demonstrate against them.
Okay.
And then finally, let us also realize that just recently the foreign minister of Senegal was asked a question that why is ECOWAS against Niger junta while there is a military regime in Faso and Mali? Yeah. She gave one brilliant answer. She said the coup there is one coup too many. We cannot allow the gains of democracy in West Africa to be compromised by military adventurists or adventurers, opportunists who are not trained to rule, who are not trained to govern, who are not experts in military, in administration, to just use the force that they were trained or meant to defend their country to now use it against their own people to impose themselves in power, and they rule dictatoriously by suspending the constitution of that country. Okay. So whatever happens is that I am in support of ECOWAS. ECOWAS should flush out the junta in the jail and ensure that this kind of thing doesn't take place again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malam.
Yeah, well, you see, we have a problem here. The word coup is, it's an English word, right? Mm-hmm. You can Google the meaning. It's termination of a legitimate government. Very simple. It never said by military. So it doesn't have to be. So it means that you can have, by definition and by implication, a civilian coup. And in history, of course, we have had civilian coups. We have. And I have extended the definition to also mean that thwarting an electoral process to divert the people's decision and will is also a coup. Okay, all right, Dr. Lord. That's my definition. That's your definition. Yes. But okay, I like, even though I already knew what coup was, but then I just had to take a detour and go to Google. Yes. And coup d'etat, also called coup, the sudden violent overthrow of an existing government by a small group. The chief prerequisite for a coup is a control of all or part of the armed forces, the police, and other military elements. Simple. So, which means he's talking about control now. Control, Who is controlling? So, the controller may be a civilian. But you need the armed forces and the police to be part of the process to actualize it. But of course, we have had clear revolutions in history where the people, without even the express support of the military institution and the police, that are forced by the circumstances to be complacent, to look the other way, they have taken over power. It happened in France. Do you understand that? The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia in 1917, led by men like V.I. Lenin. V.I. Lenin was not a soldier. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So a coup can actually be led by a civilian. Now, the issue is not whether it should be by military or by a civilian. The issue is that is termination of a legitimate government.
Okay.
By whatever force. And those who also terminate it using the ballot box also meet the definition, the basic operational definition of what a coup is. So West African leaders, I repeat this, West African leaders who have cornered the state, who have captured their respective states and are sitting on the states, should be warned about what J.F. Kennedy said. J.F. Kennedy said that those who make peaceful change impossible make violent change inevitable.
Inevitable, yeah.
I didn't make that statement. So allow the people to decide who will govern them. Do you understand that? So if you allow, like the last caller is imputing that I may be obedient and therefore supporting Obi, I don't care. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm Igbo. Unapologetically Igbo, proudly Igbo. Obi is Igbo. A good one at that. Do you understand that? But it doesn't mean that all Igbos voted for Obi. Do you understand that? It doesn't mean that all Igbos are obedient. And let me also repeat that if a Professor Mahmoud declared Obi the president-elect under this charade of a process, I will still condemn it. So we're not saying this because it is Tinubu that is declared. We are saying allow the process you put in place to work
itself
and show in a very transparent and open manner who won. Everybody would say it, not only Professor Mahmoud. Because as we speak now, the only person that saw how Tinubu won was Mahmoud, only him. Whereas you put in place a system, you put an IREV. Look, Nigeria spent over 100 billion to put that electronic component in place. And you shut it down. And we say, you see, there's no perfect democracy anywhere in the world. So we should allow this kind of brigandage to continue, even if there is no true democracy anywhere in the world. Must we follow such bad examples? Why did Nigeria commit almost 400 billion in ensuring a free, fair, transparent election that will be apart, comparable to any proper election anywhere in the world? Why did Nigeria commit that kind of money? Why did you eliminate the electronic component that was put in place even by INEC itself? Nobody forced INEC or Mahmoud to go for the electronic component that brought in the issue of beavers, which is a remarkable improvement upon the card reader, that brought in the issue of beavers, of a IREV that would enable INEC upload results real time for polling units. You brought these things in. You did. And you brought in an electoral guideline 2022 that showed clearly how you will arrive at the real-time transmission of results, which would enable everybody anywhere in the world to follow with you how the winner would emerge. You aborted the process willfully. And I repeat that the testimony, or witnessing from Amazon cloud engineers at the tribunal showed clearly that there was no internet glitch. That means it was deliberate action by INEC. And INEC in its own entry, its own defense submitted to the tribunal. Do you know what INEC said? Go and read. INEC simply said that it wasn't compulsory for them to electronically compute results. Then why did you collect over 100 billion to put the electronic component in place? If Nigeria were a place where things are done properly, at the conclusion of this matter, Mahmoud and his team will go to jail. Because what they did was a coup. I'm telling you the gospel truth. Because they diverted the process, aborted the process. Even if Tinubu won, you shrouded his victory in mystery and made it a Pyrrhic victory in the eye of the people. So it's not about Tinubu now. Nobody is saying Tinubu couldn't have won. We are saying you removed us from competing with you, and that is the reason you collected over 100 billion to put in place electronic component. And if there was no glitch and you indeed stopped the process, why shouldn't you be held to account? Why should we not condemn it? So if we want to talk about the way moving forward, we must go through the whole thing and know precisely why INEC is doing this, because it's not the first time. I remember in 2007, Professor Morrissey did exactly the same thing by declaring President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua president-elect, when indeed election and computations, collations were still going on in the states, in the country, many states, and you were here declaring the president. It's almost the same thing that the Mahmoud did, and the who got away with it. And Mahmoud is already getting away with this also. Tell me why there will be no repeat of such ugly history if nothing is done with what they have done with us.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Law. We couldn't even take half of the topics or half of the headlines today.
Yes, we took the more important ones.
Yeah, we took the more important.
Let's say so.
I was hoping we could talk more on fuel subsidy and the protest, but then I do hope we'll have you some other time with us, and then we'll talk fully about the Labour Party protest. But thank you so much for being on the program with us today. It's been an insightful one.
Pleasure is always mine.
All right. And then now it looks like we have people still calling. We have over 35 missed calls. Trust me, we cannot take all of the calls, but thank you so much for being a part of the press this week and this morning at large. We do hope you enjoyed the program, and then this is where we draw the curtain for the press this morning. I remain Messi Babajide. Stay tuned for more updates from KAFTAN Television. See you same time, same station next week. Bye.